There's a number sitting between you and a completely different life. And it's not $1 million. It's not even 100,000. It's $5,000. I know that sounds almost too simple, maybe even a little ridiculous. You're probably thinking, 5 grand, that's it? That's the big secret? But here's what nobody's telling you. $5,000 isn't just money. It's the exact amount where your brain stops operating in survival mode and starts operating in possibility mode. And that shift, that changes everything. So if you're sitting there right now with less than $1,000 in your bank account, or maybe you've got nothing, maybe you're actually in the negative, I need you to pay attention. Because by the end of this, you're going to understand exactly why $5,000 is the first number that actually matters. And more importantly, you're going to know exactly how to get there. Let me show you what I mean. Right now, 63% of Americans are living paycheck to paycheck. And I'm not talking about people making minimum wage. I'm talking about people making $50, $60, even $70,000 a year. People with degrees, people with good jobs, people who on paper should be fine. But they're not fine. They're stressed, they're exhausted, they're one car repair away from a financial crisis. And the crazy part, most of them have tried to save money. They've downloaded the budgeting apps, they've watched the videos, they've told themselves next month is going to be different. But it never is. And here's the thing, you're not lazy, you're not bad with money, you're not financially illiterate. The problem is that every piece of financial advice you've ever heard was designed for people who already have money, save 6 months of expenses, build a diversified portfolio. Great. How exactly are you supposed to do any of that when you've got $87 in your checking account and rent is due in 9 days? You can't. And that's a trap. See, traditional financial advice assumes you're starting from a position of stability. But if you're starting from zero or close to it, you need different advice. You need a first step that's actually achievable. And that first step, that's $5,000. Let me explain why this number specifically. When you've got less than $1,000 saved, your brain is in what I call crisis mode. Every decision gets filtered through fear. Should I go to the doctor for this weird pain? Probably can't afford it. Should I negotiate for a raise? Better not rock the boat. Can't risk losing this job. Should I leave this relationship, this city, this situation that's making me miserable? Not possible. Where would I even go? Everything in your life gets limited by the number in your bank account. But something weird happens when you hit $5,000. Your brain doesn't just relax a little bit. It fundamentally changes how it processes decisions. Here's why. $5,000 is roughly 2 to 3 months of essential expenses for most people. That's not a lot in the grand scheme of things, but it's enough that your nervous system stops treating every purchase like a potential catastrophe. It's enough that unexpected expenses become annoying instead of devastating. It's enough that you start to feel like you have options. And that feeling of having options, that's worth more than the money itself. Let me give you a real example. Imagine you're 27 years old. You're making $48,000 a year at a job you kind of hate. Your boss is difficult. The hours are long. You've been thinking about looking for something else, but every time you start updating your resume, you stop. Because what if the job search takes a few months? What if there's a gap in income? What if you get a new job and it's even worse? And you need to quit, and then what? So you stay. Not because you want to, because you feel like you have to. Now, imagine the same scenario, but you've got $5,000 in savings. Suddenly, the calculation changes. You can take a week off between jobs if you need to. You can be pickier about the offers you accept. You can walk into negotiations knowing that if they lowball you, you can walk away. That's what I call walking away power, and it's worth way more than whatever you could buy with $5,000. Here's another scenario. You've got $5,000 saved and your car breaks down. The mechanic tells you it's going to be $800 to fix. Now, is that annoying? Absolutely. Is it going to derail your entire life? No. You pay it, you move on, your savings takes a hit, but you're still above water. You're not putting it on a credit card at 24% interest. You're not borrowing from family. You're not skipping rent. Compare that to having zero saved when the same thing happens. Now you're in crisis mode. You're selling stuff. You're begging. You're stressed for weeks. And the worst part, that stress bleeds into everything else. Your work suffers. Your relationships suffer. Your health suffers. This is why $5,000 isn't just about the money. It's about breaking the cycle that keeps people trapped. But here's the thing nobody tells you about. 5,000 is also the minimum amount where compound growth starts to feel real. Let me show you what I mean with actual numbers. If you've got $500 saved and you put it in a high yield account earning 8%, after 2 years you've got $583. You've made 83 bucks. That's like what, 2 nice dinners? Your brain looks at that and goes, "Why bother?" But if you've got $5,000, at 8% after 2 years you've got $5,832. You made $832 by doing literally nothing. That's real money. That's a month of groceries. That's a car payment. That's enough that your brain starts to understand compounding isn't just some abstract concept rich people talk about. And once you see it working, once you actually feel those numbers growing in your account, something clicks. You want to add more. You want to see what happens with 10,000, then 20, then 50. 5,000 is the threshold where wealth building stops being theoretical and starts being visceral. You can actually feel it. So how do you get there? This is where I'm going to get specific because I know you're tired of vague advice like just cut back on expenses or make a budget. That stuff is true, but it's useless if you don't know how to actually implement it. Here's the plan. Step 1, find your real number. You need to know exactly how much money you need every month to survive. Not your take-home pay, not what you spend, what you actually need: rent, utilities, basic food, transportation, insurance. That's it. Everything else is negotiable. For most people making between $40,000 and $70,000, this number is somewhere between $2,000 and $3,000 a month. Let's say yours is $2,500. Now you know your target. 5,000 divided by 2,500 means you need 2 months of breathing room. That's what you're building. Step 2, calculate your savings rate. Take your monthly income after taxes and subtract your essential expenses. What's left? Let's say you take home $3,800 a month and your essentials are $2,500. That leaves $1,300. Now, obviously, not all of that can go to savings. You have a life, but some of it can. And I'm going to tell you right now, if you're serious about this, $400 a month is the number to aim for. At $400 a month, you hit 5,000 in 12 and a half months. That's 1 year to completely change your financial life. I know some of you are already thinking, I can't save $400 a month. And look, maybe that's true. Maybe your margins are genuinely that tight. But before you decide it's impossible, I want you to do something. I want you to actually look at where your money is going. Pull up your bank statement from last month, add up every food delivery order, every subscription you forgot about, every random Amazon purchase, every convenience store run. I'm not saying you're bad for spending money on those things, but I am saying that most people who claim they can't save $400 a month are actually spending $400 a month on things they can't even remember buying. The average American spends over $200 a month on food delivery alone. 200 bucks. That's half your savings goal right there. So before you tell me you can't afford it, prove it. Actually track your spending for 1 month. And if after that you genuinely can't find 400, then start with 200 or 100. At 200 a month, you hit 5,000 in 25 months. At 100 a month, it takes 50 months. Is that slower? Obviously, but it's still progress, and the habits you build getting to 5,000 are the same habits that'll take you to 50,000. Step 3, automate everything. The day you get paid, money should automatically move to a separate savings account. Not an account attached to your checking, a completely separate account at a different bank if possible. Make it inconvenient to access. Make it feel like that money doesn't exist. This isn't about willpower. Willpower is garbage. People who are good with money aren't better at resisting temptation. They've just built systems that make temptation irrelevant. You don't have to resist spending money you can't see. Step 4, create a gap between earning more and spending more. This is where people really mess up. Most people who get a raise immediately upgrade their lifestyle. They get an extra $300 a month and suddenly their rent is $300 more, or their car payment, or their food spending. That's called lifestyle creep, and it's why plenty of people making six figures are still broke. Here's the rule. Every time your income increases, save at least 50% of the difference before you increase your spending. You get a $200 raise, 100 goes straight to savings before you even think about lifestyle upgrades. This is how you accelerate your timeline without feeling like you're sacrificing. Step 5. Protect the 5,000 at all costs. Once you hit 5,000, it's going to be tempting to spend it. Something's going to come up that feels like a good reason. A vacation, a better car, an investment opportunity, 100 little things that feel justified in the moment. Do not touch this money unless you are in an actual emergency. I'm talking job loss, medical crisis, housing instability. That's it. Everything else, you figure out another way. This is your foundation. This is the thing that gives you options. This is what lets you take risks, negotiate harder, and build real wealth over time. Spending it on non-emergencies puts you right back at zero with nothing to show for it. Now, some of you are going to ask me, what about debt? Should I pay off debt first or save first? Here's my answer. If you've got high interest debt, like credit cards at 18, 22, 24%, you need to do both at the same time. Get $1,000 saved as fast as humanly possible. That's your mini emergency fund. Then throw everything at the high interest debt. Once that's gone, build up to 5,000. If your debt is lower interest, like student loans at 6% or a car loan at 8%, I'd honestly prioritize the 5,000 first. Here's why. The psychological benefits of having that buffer outweigh the math on interest rates. Yes, mathematically, you might save a few $100s by attacking the debt first, but practically, most people who try that approach never build savings habits because they're always in scarcity mode. They pay off debt, something happens, they go right back into debt. The 5,000 breaks that cycle, it gives you margin. And once you have margin, paying off debt becomes way easier because you're not constantly putting out fires. Let me tell you what happens if you don't do this. Let's look at two people, same age, let's say 30, same income, 55,000 a year, same expenses. The only difference is person A has 5,000 saved and person B has nothing. Over the next 5 years, person A has options. They can take a risk on a better job because they've got a cushion. They can invest in learning new skills because they're not constantly stressed. They can negotiate harder, say no to bad deals, and walk away from situations that aren't serving them. Person B, they stay stuck. They take whatever they can get because they have no leverage. Every unexpected expense becomes a crisis that takes months to recover from. Their stress levels stay chronically elevated, which affects their health, their relationships, their performance at work. By 35, person A probably has 15, 20, maybe even 30,000 saved. Their income has grown because they were able to take strategic risks. Their stress is manageable. Person B, still starting from scratch. Every time they make progress, something knocks them back. They're exhausted, and the gap between them and person A is growing wider every year. That's not a metaphor, that's just math playing out over time. Here's the hard truth. I know some of you are going to close this video and go right back to your normal life. You're going to tell yourself you'll start next month or after the holidays or once things calm down at work. That's the voice of the person who stays broke forever. There's never going to be a perfect time. Things are never going to calm down. Something will always come up. The people who actually build wealth, they start before they're ready. They start messy. They start with $50 a paycheck if that's all they've got. They start when it's inconvenient and uncomfortable and uncertain. And here's the part that nobody talks about. Starting is the hardest part. Once you've got momentum, once you've got 1,000 saved, then 2,000, then 3, the process gets easier. The habits get automatic. The progress becomes its own motivation. But you have to get through those first few months of it feeling pointless. You have to survive the part where you're saving $200 and your brain is telling you this will never matter. It matters more than almost anything else you'll do. Because money isn't just money. Money is time. Money is options. Money is the ability to say yes to things that grow your life and no to things that shrink it. And $5,000? That's the minimum amount where those options actually become real. So here's what I want you to do. Today, Not tomorrow, not next week. Today. Open a new savings account at a bank you don't already use. Set up an automatic transfer for whatever you can afford, even if it's $50, even if it's 20. Start the process. Then calculate how many months it'll take you to hit 5,000 at your current rate. Write that number down. Put it somewhere you'll see it every day. And every month, when that transfer happens, watch the number grow. Let yourself feel good about it. That feeling, that's what building wealth actually looks like. It's not flashy, it's not exciting, it's just steady, boring progress that compounds into something life changing. 1 year from now, you could have $5,000 sitting in an account with your name on it. You could have options you don't have today. You could be living a completely different life. Or you could be exactly where you are right now, wishing you'd started. The choice is entirely up to you. Start today.